FM 94, The Dark. It is that time again. It's time to get to know a band we play here on The Dark. And tonight, I'm really excited about this. The band is called Into the Fire. And this is a band that actually is made up of past band members or band members that are actually currently still playing with bands. And on the phone right now, I'm talking with the bassist of the band. And you might remember this name or two. The name is Tim King. Yes, that Tim King from the band Soil. First of all, how are you doing, Tim? How are things going with you tonight?
I'm doing great. I appreciate the interview. It's fun to take some time and talk about something other than soil.
Exactly. And, we're going to dabble into a little everything here. But first and foremost, let's talk about the band Into the Fire. And as I mentioned here in our opening few seconds here, this is a band that is really a collaboration of many other bands that have come together. You've gotten some guys from each different bands, brought them together, and created this band Into the Fire. How did this all happen? How did it all come about?
Yeah, I mean, basically it's me and Adam, my guitar player from Soil, and Brian Scott from the Union Underground, the vocalist, and our buddy Will Hunt, who plays drums currently with Evanescence, and he's played with a ton of other bands. He actually played drums on our last Soil record. And what happened was, a few years ago, me and Adam were just kind of sitting around, and it was before Ryan McCombs, our original Soil singer, had come back into the band. And me and Adam were just kind of sitting around, going, what's going on with Soil? It's kind of not right without Ryan here, and we've gone through, some years without him, and, what do you want to do next? What's kind of going on? It was kind of going through our head, and I was like, I always loved, Brian Scott from Union Underground, his voice, and he was actually the first person we had contacted to join Soil after Ryan left. And I'm like, I'm going to reach out to him to see what he's up to. And, we got back in touch, and, he wasn't really up to anything. He has this band Cult to Follow that he was doing some stuff with and over in San Antonio. And he's like, yeah, I wouldn't mind writing some songs with the guys and doing some stuff. So we got a few songs together, and they just started coming out and bringing on a life of their own. And we had originally Craig Neuenmacher from Black Label Society as the drummer for this, but he kind of gave up on music as a whole, and he got a really nice job and really wanted to do the family thing, so he gracefully bowed out of it. And then we brought in, my buddy, our friend Will Hunt, into it on drums, and then we just, took us quite a long time to get everything together, because Ryan had come back to Soil, and we were kind of on a step up from that, and an upswing with the band, and we were doing all that sort of stuff. And Soil sort of took precedent, and Will was out touring with Evanescence, and Brian had Cult to Follow still going with some stuff and doing a lot of studio work. And then when things died down, we finally came back to this project and finished it. And then we put it together and put out the songs that we had done, and they just started to skyrocket in a nice little way. Great people like yourselves started spinning them on radio. We filmed the video, and that started getting a lot of attention, and it just kept building up a little mind of its own. And we've kind of switched gears to write some more songs with it and do a little bit more with it. We'll record some new songs and get on the road with it and do some touring aspects and things like that.
You mentioned it's kind of got a life of its own here, and with all the different directions that you have members going, it's got to be kind of difficult to get everybody together as one, isn't it? Who coordinates all this stuff to make it happen?
Oh, it's insane, and it's me and Brian, taking care of the bulk of everything for it. Brian's very hands-on, and so am I with our respective bands. And for me, it's amazing, because usually I'm the one that's kind of left holding the stick for Soil.
Right.
It has to coordinate and get the majority of things together, and it's really nice to have Brian, who's exactly is OCD and such a perfectionist like I am with everything, as like my right hand man on this. So we're having I'm having that extra help really is a great thing, but coordinating everybody together is a complete nightmare. I mean, me and Adam, we live in the same town as each other, but everybody else, Will's in Orlando, Florida, and Brian's in San Antonio, Texas. So, thanks to the power of the internet, we're able to, send a lot of stuff around through Pro Tools and GarageBand and ideas. But, getting together actually in a room has been a little difficult. And, we've flown out and seen each other a couple of times. Like when we filmed the video, we, utilize that for almost a week to film the video, take photos, jam out a little bit. And, we're going to continue to have more of those sessions coming up. But yeah, it's a little bit different, a little bit challenging, shall I say. But, again, with the age of technology, things are a lot easier. You couldn't pull something like this off in, 2001, but you can in 2017,
I was just going to say that. It's amazing because obviously you played back in those days and you play back today, and it's like, you would not be able to do that whatsoever. And in today's world, I mean, I think it's crazy because, I talked to a lot of up-and-coming bands, and I said, how do you find your members? And they go, oh, yeah, we go on Craigslist. And then I'm like, what? I mean, it's not like you used to be hanging out in the school, down in the locker room or something, and all of a sudden you'd see a guy there that had an interest in maybe playing in music. Next thing you know, you get together and you start jamming in your garage and you become a band. It doesn't happen that way anymore, does it?
Yeah, it's the whole, the whole first 3 Soil records are written on a boombox.
Yeah.
We'd put a boombox in the middle of the practice space and push play, and it'd be like, you could barely make out anything that was going on with it. Now everything is practically album quality that we send around to each other, and within an afternoon we can have everybody on the same page and learning riffs and the same parts and stuff. It's really cool, but it's quite mind blowing, especially being people that were born in the 70s.
Hey, I'm right with you.
We were lucky to have a microwave as a kid. Now kids, if their iPad isn't at 4,000 gigahertz loading speed, they have a freak out session.
Hey, I got a couple of daughters at home that do that.
Yeah, it's crazy to see these kids do this. I mean, we had Atari 2600 when I was growing up. Now these video games, they look like I'm watching a trailer for it. I'm like, well, that movie looks cool, and when's that coming out? It's a video game. It's nuts,
I know. I think as a kid, I played Pong, on Atari, going back and forth, tick, tick. That was the big thing, back then. So crazy how the world has changed. Let me ask you that question too. You've been in the music circle for a long time, and obviously the industry has changed. What is the one thing that has changed for the good? And what's the one thing maybe that hasn't changed for the good?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that changed, I think, for the best is that there's more of a level playing field out there to where, a hard-working band and a band that's really, really good can get the notoriety that they deserve, to where I think, previously there was so many good bands that, even bands that I was into that nobody ever heard, that nobody ever got a chance to enjoy because no label would sign them, and they really didn't have many mediums and formats to get their music out to people.
Right.
Nowadays it's like any really good band can be heard, and that music can be enjoyed, and there's really, for the most part, nothing lost, out there that will never that can be out and never be heard or never be explored. On the flip side of it, nowadays there's almost too much.
Right.
There's so much information coming around, and that's somewhat bad because, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can get together and record a demo, and some very terrible bands that I've heard actually can gain some notoriety because they're useful in other areas besides talent, in marketing and in this, that, and the other thing. And it's kind of a travesty to see horrible musicians, getting things out there on a platform and thinking that they've made it, so to speak, when they haven't really earned it. And, the streaming thing, I think, too, has really declined and made the music business smaller. And, I'm done saying it's a bad thing and trying to fight it as a musician and a record label guy and stuff like that, because it's here, I get it. It's so convenient, it's so easy, and it's just a sign of the times. But, it has compressed and shrunk the music industry down, and musicians and being able to be a professional musician down to a very small select few group of people, to where it's really hard to just play music and just be a musician nowadays. It's almost like you have to be into other things and do other things and do music at the same time if you want to succeed and be able to do it. So those are kind of like the pros and cons that I've seen,
right,
over the years. And a little bit of the specialness has been taken out of it, which, sad to see.
Yeah, it is. It's true. And, and obviously me being in the radio business back in the day, that was the big thing. If you made it on the radio, it was huge. And the next thing you know is you were, getting support from the record labels and everything was, hunky-dory. And now that's changed a lot, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, now any Tom, Dick, and Harry can start up their own internet radio station.
Right.
And call themselves, a DJ or say I work for a radio station, but the real quality people, such as yourselves and other stations and ones that have built it up and done it right, are the ones that are kind of like, well, hey,
Mm-hmm.
we did it first. We're still doing it right. We're still kicking ass at it. What are you guys doing over here?
Right.
So it kind of gets to that. It kind of gets to that. You get a little protective of your turf.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, we're talking with Tim King, of course, from the band Soil, but also the new band Into the Fire. Let's get back to Into the Fire here for a minute. And I guess the name, how did the name come about, and why did you choose that name?
Yeah, naming a band is the worst part of being in a band.
Yes, it is.
Time. And it's just like we went through so many names before we came up with that. And, we just lists and lists of stuff. And, now that we have it named Into the Fire, for the life of me, I'm a huge 80s hair metal fan. So every time I hear our name Into the Fire, I keep thinking of the song Dockin' Into the Fire.
That's what I was thinking, yes.
Yeah, that's what I always think of. But the other guys loved the name, and the logo really turned out well, so we went with it. I actually wanted to do like a tongue-in-cheek type name and call it, We Were Famous. Like, we all come from established bands. We were all, really at the top of our game at one time with super hit singles. We're still here doing it, and we're still successful, but, we're not back on that, gold platinum status like we all used to.
Right.
And I kind of want to do it like a tongue-in-cheek, like, hey, we were famous, but here we are now.
Oh, I can see that.
Band, but the other guys didn't really see my humor in it, and we did a majority vote and Into the Fire one. That's kind of how that came about.
So it was a 3-1 vote, then, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, basically.
You were the negative vote, then everybody else said we're going with that one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the one who found the guy to do the logo, so I guess I had a part in it. So, there you go.
Hey, the first song that actually I heard from you guys was Spit You Out. I think you guys put that out about a year ago or so. Am I correct on that?
Oh, yeah, we put that out late last year. I think it was September of last year with the video and the EP and stuff.
So it seemed like it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, anything longer than 3 weeks nowadays seems like it happened 10 years ago. So.
Let's talk about that song for a minute, Spit You Out. I guess what was the meaning behind that song, and what was the reason for writing that one?
Yeah, that Brian Scott, our vocalist, came up with all the he wrote all the lyrics to everything. And, that song's basically, about getting involved with the wrong type of person, whether, the wrong type of girlfriend, but it's just so addicting, and the fun and the craziness you have together, you just can't spit that person out. You want to, that person's not right for you, is a troublemaker, going to get you into all kinds of crap, but you just can't spit them out. You just can't get away from that feeling they give you and, the emotions they bring out in you. And it just leads to no good.
Yeah, I can hear that.
I've been there. I've been down that pipeline a few times in my day. So
done that, right? Exactly. I hear you on that one. And of course, your current signal that we're spinning right now here in the dark, From the Medicine. Talk about that song a little bit. What's the meaning behind that one?
Yeah, that song lyrically, I have absolutely no idea what it's about.
Okay.
I'll probably have to ask Brian on that one. But musically, we definitely took a little. Tipped our hat off a little bit to the Alice in Chains-y vibe, Stone Temple Pilots vibe to that, and you can really hear it in that song. And that was a song, musically, that actually me and Adam were sitting in a room together and came up with. We're like, man, this has got a really cool, kind of grunge vibe to it. And we sent it over to Brian, and he added the electronics to it and all the really cool vocal nuances, and it just really took on a life of its own. So it's kind of got that modern flair, but it's definitely a song that's got a throwback and throw some homage to your STP and Alice in Chains type lovers out there.
Very cool. In fact, we're going to play that coming up here in just a little bit, that song for our listeners here so they get a taste of that too, of course, what you just explained. But you're a busy guy. You don't just deal with, obviously, being a band, performing and doing all that. You're also helping out bands too, as you've gotten involved with Pavement Records. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I have the label Pavement along with the president, Mark Nawara. He's been running record labels forever, and we've been friends for almost 25 years, and we teamed up on this label together by taking his expertise of running record labels and my expertise of being in bands and working for different distributors and booking agents and all that around the thing. We combined our forces, and we really made a cool, artist-friendly label over here, and we really picked up a lot of well-known bands like Candlebox and Flaw and Smile and Be Soul and Head PE, and we even have Soil on the label as well, and Into the Fire.
That's good.
But we've really built up something that's really cool over here, and I think it's a testament to the fact that it's not just coming from a business aspect; it's coming from an artist aspect and somebody that's been in the trenches. I've been there siphoning gas out of people's vans in motel parking lots to put into our own van to get from gig to gig back in the early days. And, I've been on tour in brand new Prevost buses and played arenas with Ozzy and Rob Zombie and played clubs to 5 people before and everything in between. So, I actually get what it's like to be away from your family and friends and, things like that and from home. So, it's something that I understand going into what, our artists are doing. And, at the same token, I don't let our artists get away with anything of the, well, I don't want to do that and I can't get away from my girlfriend. I'm like, if I can do it, you definitely can do it. So it's that kind of thing too. But it's a cool situation we have here, and it's working really well.
Yeah, it sounds like it is. And as you mentioned, just that list of names of some of the bands, of course, those are some of the big hitters that you have. One question, and this is a great time for you to even toot your horn about some maybe up-and-coming bands that we don't know about yet, but that you are kind of helping out on Pavement. What would some of those bands be right now that our listeners could maybe take a listen to? Since we have to sift through the world of all this music, maybe we'll just narrow it down to some bands that Tim King thinks we should listen to.
Yeah, I mean, some of the developing, another aspect we have here is we develop a lot of bands, which is another thing that I wanted to do from just being a band guy myself. Somebody gave me a chance once a long time ago to make my dreams come true, and I always wanted to maintain and carry that over to what I do here at Pavement and give other artists that opportunity as well. And, one of the bands we have are, some natives from your area, which are Strange Days.
Yep.
And we have a great kind of gothy industrial metal band called Gabriel and the Apocalypse, which has just come out. We've got a band from Rockford, Illinois called Beyond Threshold. We've got a band called Emperors and Elephants, which really has a great, Nirvana-esque, Alice in Chainsy throwback vibe to it, too. And, the list just keeps going on and on. We've got quite a few great new bands to discover and things like that. We have a really cool progressive rock band out of Denver, Colorado called Source that we just had out with Hell Yeah and In Flames that is becoming really popular. And they just, they came to us as a local band, and we've gotten them on the national touring circuit and developed them and had them playing in front of thousands of people with that, Hell Yeah and Flames tour. And they're back out with Flaw right now. And, it's just one of the things of how I was able to kind of pass on the dream, pass the torch to a young, inspiring band as well,
That has to be just a great feeling for you as an artist and a guy that can help other bands out, be in that situation that you were, say, 20, 30 years ago, to see them come out and have success.
Oh, yeah. I feel like a proud parent.
Yeah, exactly.
And with a lot of them, some of them, it's a tough love because I don't put up with the excuses of, like I said, my girlfriend won't let me go on tour, or I have to be at home for a birthday party. It's like, to make it, you really got to give it your all, and you have to be willing to sacrifice everything. Over the years, I've missed birthdays and funerals and weddings and everything in between that you could possibly imagine. Missed out on a lot of things to make my dreams come true, but if you really want to separate the men's from the boys and make that happen, you know, you got to work hard for your dreams.
Absolutely.
And that goes with anything you do in life. You have to be willing to make sacrifices to get bigger and better things, and you know, those things translate into your life later on, you know, into your families and your kids and things, because, you know, hopefully you succeed and you carve out a niche for yourself and are able to make money and support things and do things like that. But, you know, dreams don't come cheap and they don't come easy. So
no.
it's definitely a labor of love, and that goes with pretty much everything, you know.
Absolutely, and that's the reason why we created the Dark program here too. Obviously, we focus on the stuff that's currently in the top 50 and the heavy hitter bands, but it's also a time for these bands, these up and coming bands, to get a chance to shine. And I'm glad that we have this chance to talk, and for that matter, to get these bands up and coming to me and get some information so we can get them out to the listener out there listening, so they get a chance to hear them too. And I think it's a really cool situation that we have going on, and I see the industry kind of going back to that again, trying to find those next up-and-coming bands. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. And, you know, it's a real shame, too, because, I mean, you know, growing up when I did, it was a different time. And how we discovered bands is on the playground, or a buddy would buy a magazine like Hit Parade or Circus, and you'd listen to it, or you hear it on the radio, you know, that you'd listen to religiously just to try to hear, you know, your favorite band being played. And you know, I think what we're really missing nowadays is the true rock stars, because, you know, there was an element of mystery back then. You know, I didn't know what Motley Crue was doing on the buses back then. Well, I mean, now you do because you read the dirt and stuff, and you learned that it was pretty exciting. But, you know, now, I mean, all these new bands, they're tweeting every time they go to the bathroom, every time they eat something.
Right.
Everybody knows everything about these bands, and that element of mystery is kind of gone. I think that's why so many of the old bands still stick around. I mean, some of these guys are in their, like, 50s and 60s. Mm-hmm. And when I was a kid, I didn't want to see some old dude up there playing. I wanted to see, you know, Motley Crue tearing it up with pentagrams and Ozzy, you know, throwing water all over everybody. But nowadays it seems like the band, like the older bands, have maintained their popularity because they still have this element of mystery.
Right.
And it's like there's so many awesome, you know, bands, and they're not so new anymore, but like Asking Alexandria and Black Veil Brides and you know, bands of that. I really like that band Highly Suspect too.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just like these new bands out there, they're awesome and stuff, but they're not quite as big as they should be.
Right.
And I don't quite know why, because they've got what it takes. They've got the chops, and the only thing that I can kind of pinpoint is maybe that element of mystery is a little bit gone. You know, maybe that's why bands like Ghost and stuff like that are so huge, because nobody really knows much about them, or, you know, things like that. That kind of remains somewhat of a head scratcher to me, but you know, there are a great new crop of bands out there for people to hear. And
yeah, you mentioned,
like I said,
yeah, go ahead. You mentioned like Ghost for a minute, and I think you're right on that. The mystery is there, because Ghost, you're kind of like, you are scratching your head like, what's going on with that band, you know? But they're a phenomenal band. Another band that just came to mind too is September Morning. What they're doing with their thing, just kind of a crazy thing they've got going out there. But you kind of scratch your head and like, what's up with that band? But it's kind of a mystery of what they're doing.
Yeah, they're great. There's this other band, Starset. That's another.
Starset, yeah.
Mentioned they're awesome. I mean, they've got a really cool thing. I mean, they kind of tip the hat to Powerman 5000 from back in the day a little bit, but they do it just with a lot of conviction. Just such a great band. You know, there's so many out there, you know, and I think because there are so many bands that you really have to be good to get that cream to rise to the top. And you know, like we were just talking, like Highly Suspect and Starset and bands and September Morning and stuff like that. Those bands are really kind of getting up there because they're really good. They're really good at what they do.
Absolutely. You know, the one cool thing now about rock music is you still have the live aspect of it, and you know, you can do all the play tracks, do everything, you know, behind the scenes and the pop thing, but boy, when you go to a rock show, hopefully you get a live, true, authentic performance, and I think rock still gives you that for the most part.
Oh yeah, and that's something that YouTube and streaming and video cameras and all that will never ever be able to take away, is actually being there in person, live,
right,
seeing it in the flesh. And although most of the people spend most of their time looking at the concert through
exactly
their phone or whatever,
yeah,
at least they're still there. You know?
How annoying is that for a band member? I mean, this is one question I really haven't asked to a band member, but you've been around the industry for so long. How annoying? I'm sure back in the day, everybody was there just, sucking it in. Now everybody's got to tell you that they were there, and they have to video it and show it, and they missed the whole thing.
Yeah, for me, it's just kind of a sign of the times. I look at it as long as you made it out of the house and came there, enjoy my music or our concert or whatever, any way you want to. At least you're there showing support. And you know what? Some people don't want to sit there and bang their head and go crazy. Some people want to sit in the back and absorb it in or text while they're watching it, but that's their way of enjoying it. I don't care about stuff like that. I kind of figure as long as you made an effort to come and you're there, enjoy it any which way you want. The thing that really just kind of irritates me probably the most is the photographers, like when somebody asks for a photo pass for a show,
okay,
and they come showing up with a iPhone or just this like cheap little camera, and they're sitting there taking these photos and everything, and it's like, you're not really a photographer, You just want to get into the show for free and try to meet the band and take away a guest spot that somebody more deserving can have, and that's what really irritates me, is just seeing somebody like that takes away the art of it for somebody who's really a photographer, that's got that big wide lensed angled camera that's really shooting it and that really takes pride in what they do, rather than somebody that's going to take a few iPhone shots, put them up on or send them to the band or put them up on their website and expect to get backstage and drink all the beer and get on the guest list and hang with the band. That's probably my only pet peeve nowadays. Other than that, I don't know. You could take a dump on my tour bus, and I really don't care anymore.
I just wrote myself a note. Note to self: next time, make sure get Dad's camera with wide lens, not bringing my iPhone, and I'll be able to drink beer as much as I want because they'll think I'm taking good pictures, even though I didn't even snap the shutter once. Okay, got it.
Yeah, you're in. It doesn't even have to be charged.
Perfect. Tim, we could talk.
The illusion that you're professional.
Absolutely. Right. Exactly. And by the way, this isn't even going to be on the radio. No, I'm just kidding.
It's an illusion.
There you go. Hey, we could go all day, I know, talking, but I guess I want to get back to the band Into the Fire, Tim. We're talking with Tim King, of course, the bassist of the band Into the Fire, also with the band Soil. He's with Pavement. And I really want to get back to the band Into the Fire. And how can people find more information about your band and all that information?
Yeah, it's real easy. We're all over Facebook. We're all over YouTube. You can type in, Into the Fire, Spit You Out, or Into the Fire from the Medicine, and that'll pull up. You'll probably get Dockin' a few times on there.
Yeah.
And then, it's in the website's intothefire1.com.
Okay.
We're all over the social media. If you go to any of our, the Union Underground or Soil Facebook pages, there's little tags for, the band on there. We're all over the usual suspect avenues of discovering it, all over Spotify, all over iTunes, things like that. So, right now there's only 2 songs and an alternate version of Spit You Out there, but we're working on more. But if you're inclined, please, listen to the couple songs we have and support the band, and we'll keep putting out some more stuff and hopefully work on doing dates coming up and full tour as well.
Yeah, and definitely you're going to put us on the dates for tours in this area for sure, right?
Absolutely. As long as you come out with that wide-angle lens camera, you're in.
I'll do that. I'll definitely bring out the wide-angle lens camera. And I can tell by your social media, too. Brian must be huge into social media. He seems like he's got 8,000 million friends, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he's got like 8,000 million pages, too.
I saw that.
Yeah, there's Brian Scott 1, Brian Scott 2, Into the Fire, Cult to Follow, Union Underground. He's pretty out there. What's great is he does it so that I don't have to, because that stuff's just tedious to me.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I think we're with the same cloth on that when it comes to having to do that media stuff. I'm not so fun with that either.
Yeah, it's great, but man, it's a labor. You can make a full-time job out of just answering Facebook messages.
Absolutely. Hey, Tim, a lot of fun talking to you. We're going to get a chance, hopefully, to talk to you in the months to come here. We wish you the best of luck with the new project and kick some butt, all right?
Thanks so much, and thank you for the interview and for supporting, everything that you do. Without without people like you, the music wouldn't get heard, and we can't thank you enough.
And speaking of me hearing the music, we're going to play your latest song right now, From the Medicine. Of course, it's from Into the Fire, the band, once again. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it, too.
Here's the latest, once again, for the band Into the Fire. It's called From the Medicine. You're hearing it right now on FM 94's The Dark.